Hey guys, Erin here with Southern Girl Exotics. Welcome back to my channel. So I've got my first show of 2024 this weekend, and I thought, what a better opportunity than now to make a couple videos related to shows. So I'm gonna make two different videos. This is gonna be the first one, and this one is gonna relate to how to appropriately and best shop a reptile expo. There absolutely, like many things in reptile keeping, is an art to this shit. I promise you. I have seen, especially parents or people that went just thinking the expo was going to be like a zoo outing. They can just go hold some animals and experience some fun times, make some memories, and go home. Then they end up with an animal and they are rushing out of the expo, running. They've got this new animal in a critter keeper. No setup, no information that they actually need, and I'm sure once they get home, they are even more overwhelmed because they just got talked into an animal, they have nothing they need, and they have no idea where to go from there. There's also just the normal ones of us that are seasoned in going to reptile expos, but we still get there and get flustered and get talked into buying animals impulsively, and we go just knowing ourselves and knowing that we really probably will pick up an animal, but still thinking that we're not going to when we go anyways. So there is totally an art to this. And if you are going to shop a show, if you are going with the intention of getting an animal, there are some things in place that you need to be looking for to make sure that you are shopping from responsible breeders and sellers, as well as giving yourself the best opportunity to walk away with a healthy animal, all the proper information that you need, and enjoying this experience. Reptile expos across the board are the best way to shop for exotics. So we're going to go over all of that. I'm even going to touch on a little show etiquette at the end. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you guys at the end of the video. All right, so there are a couple things you want to do to appropriately shop a reptile expo. First and foremost, I recommend that you buy from breeders versus sellers. If you buy from a breeder, you are buying from somebody that typically specializes in the species you're buying. When you buy from a breeder, you are going to have the best options available for correct knowledge, care, upkeep, diet, emergency things that you might need to know, behavior things that you might need to know about a certain species. Most breeders are going to have all that information, and it's going to be relatively correct. There is absolutely a place in the hobby for sellers, responsible sellers. However, they are far and few in between. When you buy from sellers, and the difference between sellers and breeders, one is breeders are going to specialize. They're also going to have a lot more invested in a certain species, whether that's their time, their money. They just have a lot more invested in seeing this species' success, as well as seeing them succeed in your care. Sellers, on the other hand, typically flip animals. These are people that do a lot of wholesale buys just so they can get animals on the table and make a buck. They do a lot of imports and wild caughts. This gives us the opportunity to get our hands on really rare animals that aren't established in the hobby. However, a lot of risk come with that. So there is a place for sellers, absolutely, but keep in mind that not a lot of them are invested in the species that you're buying from them, nor do they take a lot of time to make sure that these animals are healthy and in good shape for you to buy and take home. Tip number 2, vet your breeders or sellers, whatever you're buying from, while you're there. You have an all-day ticket to a show. I promise you, animals are not flying off the shelves right now. So if you see something you like and you want to take a minute to walk the rest of the show, which I highly recommend you do before you jump on buying any animal, and this tip doesn't help me. I'm a seller, I'm a breeder, I want to make sales. So it doesn't help me if you go and spend your money or you go see what else is out there and find something else you like. However, as a buyer, I promise you, this is a great practice. You see something you like, Take your time and walk the rest of the show first. Make sure that you are taking the time to see what is out there, price match things, get to know the individual sellers of these animals and breeders of these animals before you jump the gun. Animals are not flying off the shelves. If you walk away, I promise you that animal will still be there most likely when you get back. There's also other options. Lots of breeders or sellers will take the animal off the table for up to an hour and hold it for you while you walk and go check. There are options. You just need to ask for what you need. And people most likely, if they're good people, will be willing to work with you. Next thing, you can vet. Take the time to vet the sellers and breeders you are buying from. That is a huge plus at Reptile Expos. We don't really get to do that online. You don't get to meet these people in person and see not only how they carry themselves, which is great insight. How somebody carries themselves tells you a lot about them as a person. You can see their table. If they have a nasty table, I don't care if they have displays or deli cups. That to me is not important. I don't care how fancy your table is. I care how clean it is. If you have a bunch of deli cups or displays that have poop and urine in them, you haven't put in the effort to rewrite the labels and things like that that have gotten smeared and yucky throughout the day, that tells me that you don't take a lot of pride in selling your animals. I can only imagine what you do at home when it comes to the care of your animals and how lazy you are in that aspect. So being able to vet your breeders or sellers while you're there is a huge plus. So take the time to do that. We discussed in a previous video how you can utilize Morph Market to look up reviews on these breeders and sellers. Morph Market is the biggest platform and the only platform many of us have had for a very long time. So most people that have been selling or breeding reptiles for a while most likely have a Morph Market. Now Google isn't going to bring up a bunch. If you Google, most breeders these days don't really have their own websites. However, you can always guarantee that usually they have a Facebook or an Instagram, so you can even vet them that way. You're looking for how they interact with customers, followers, and then you. This is going to be so important that you get a breeder or a seller that is going to take the time with you. If they are trying to rush you from the table to get to the next person, if they are not going to put in the time to answer all your questions and guarantee that if you get this animal, it's going to have the best opportunity to survive and thrive in your care, they're not that great of breeders and sellers. I personally at my table will sit there for as long as it takes, even if I know you're not buying, to make sure that you have all the information that you need on whatever species we're talking about. If somebody else walks up to my table, I will politely greet them and let them know I will be there when I'm finished. But I do not rush anyone away, and I think that is good customer service. And I think when you find breeders and sellers that behave that way, it speaks volumes to the amount of time and care they're going to put into you once you become a paying customer. Next, you're going to be vetting the animals on the table. Now, this is a big one because, again, another thing we get to do at a reptile expo that we can't do online. When we are able to see these animals in person, it gives us much more relief, trust in the person we're buying from, because we know that these animals look to be in good health. A lot of things you're going to be looking for. Now, granted, these animals are going to be in deli cups, small displays, some are in tiny enclosures. Nonetheless, you're going to be looking for some obvious signs, and there are plenty of animals that have obvious signs of neglect and just bad health. You would think that the show promoters would regulate this. They absolutely don't. The majority of them don't. So you cannot rely on the fact that if the animal's on the table, it must be healthy and available and good for sale, because that is not the case. But you're looking for animals that look very thin. They look like they have bones protruding. You're looking for animals that have wounds. You're looking for animals that look like they just are dead. They look lethargic. I see it all the time. Animals that literally look like they couldn't move if their ass was on fire. that is what you're looking for. You can also ask to hold. Some breeders, I personally let people hold animals. I bring my own hand sanitizer. I'm fine. I think it's a great experience and introduction for people when they're nervous about animals, when they don't want to have, don't think they really like reptiles. It's an awesome introduction for them to actually hold them and interact with them. It changes their opinion almost instantly on how they view reptiles. So me personally, I let people hold if they ask. However, some breeders don't, and that's okay. There's a ton of diseases. There's a ton of things that are going around that you can absolutely transfer to somebody else's animals, so I totally understand. However, there's nothing wrong with you asking a breeder to take out their animal so that you can see how it walks, you can see how active it is, you can see how alert it is when it is handling. You can get a good look, ask the breeder to show you the stomach, the legs. You can get a good look at the animal and make sure that it is in good body condition. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with you asking a seller to do that if they're not going to let you yourself handle it. Last tip when it comes to buying or doing the process of searching: stay away from hatchlings. I understand the appeal of a $25 gecko versus a $100 gecko, and you absolutely do pay for age and size, and there's a reason for that. One, most people that have a ton of hatchlings on their table push animals. They are desperately just trying to make room for what else they're about to start hatching, so they put animals as small as ever on their table. So they're desperate. Secondly, when you are seeing hatchlings and buying hatchlings so low, it's because there's not a lot of effort put into the lineage, their traits. So really, there's no telling what kind of quality animal you're going to have once it grows out and gets a little bigger. And then three, you're also buying so low with hatchlings because they have a lower survival rate. You are going to pay, when you buy hatchlings, you are paying for the likelihood that it is going to die, or it's going to give you a little bit of a run for your money to keep it alive, typically. So when I have people at my table, this is something I tell them all the time before they leave. Even if you're not going to buy from me, if you buy from somebody else, do not buy a hatchling. Make sure that that animal is juvie size to adult size, and I promise you, you have the best opportunity at that point to have a healthy animal come home, do well for you, because at that point they're well established. If they've made it to a few months old, well, with crested geckos, really, for them to even be a juvie size, they're going to have to be about 9 months old. So if they've made it to a juvie size, they are well established, they're eating well, they maintain well, and that is what you want to have when you bring home a new pet. You want a well-established, older pet. Adults are even great if you can get an adult. That would be ideal, but juvies do wonderful. All right, lastly, follow your gut. Every human being has some type of intuition, whether it's a feeling you get, whether it's an upset stomach. We all have that gift of some type of intuition when we are dealing with people or anything. So follow your gut. People can be slick at reptile expos. I'm good at what I do when it comes to selling animals. I'll toot my little horn on that. Toot toot. I am good at selling animals at shows. People can talk you into animals like you wouldn't believe. I've seen people literally sell on death's door animals to people that weren't even looking for an animal coming to an expo. So follow your gut. If your gut tells you this person isn't a good person, this person kind of gives me a weird vibe, like they're uninterested in me, they're uninterested in really helping me with understanding this animal. If this animal you're about to buy, your gut feeling tells you it doesn't look right, it's not acting right, even if you're not familiar with that species, follow your gut. It's better safe than sorry. It makes no sense to me why people will invest $100, $200, $300 in an animal they absolutely can see is on death's door. You know it's going to go home, and you're either going to have it die, or you're going to be investing hundreds more in vet care. That is just the gecko gods telling you today is not your day to get this animal. Pump the brakes. So follow your gut when you are at these expos. All right, so let's follow up real quick with some etiquette tips while you're there as a shopper that you absolutely should follow. First and foremost, treat it like it's an actual event. It's not a zoo. It's not a place for your kids to come and run around and act like absolute monsters. It's not a place for you to walk around and just touch everything on the table and turn everything and mess everything up. I mean, have a little respect for the fact that people are putting in their time, their energy, and their own money to make this event possible for you. I don't care if you're just going for an outing or if you're going to look for an animal. Have some respect that we are working individual sellers and breeders, so we're investing our own money and setting up for you guys, having these animals, having these beautiful tables and setups. Treat it with a little respect. Watch your kids. This drives me nuts, and I work with kids. I love kids. But I cannot stand parents that are there with their couple friends or their grandparents or whatever. They've got their own thing going, their conversation, they're doing the adult thing, and their kids are literally running through the show, bumping into people, knocking cups off the table. I've had kids literally, there's a big sign that says stickers for sale, and kids just grab the stickers, I mean tons of them, off my table and just run off. One time I've had a dad that was aware enough to actually come all the way back to my table, put the stickers on, and apologize. Every other time that's happened, I don't even think the parents noticed that these kids all of a sudden had all these free stickers that they've been stealing off people's tables because the parents are so unaware of what's going on with your kids. Again, this is a professional event. We want you guys to have fun. We want you to come and experience animals, but have a little friggin' respect. It drives me nuts, people that don't watch their kids. Third biggest one, please practice hygiene. It's not an underlining joke. I think everybody kind of jokes about this openly. Reptile Expos stink. And it's a mix of breeders that come in with bad hygiene and a mix of folks, a lot of folks that come to shop Reptile Expos that obviously don't wear deodorant, which is fine. If you don't want to wear deodorant, then do some little baby powder under there. Make sure you got a shower that morning if you know you're an extra musky person. Throw on a tank top instead of like a t-shirt if you know like you're going to get too sweaty with having some sleeves on. I don't know what some of y'all need to do. Wash your arses and freshen up before you come, because I am super tired of working 8-hour days in a Reptile Expo to be smelling people's booties all day. Ain't cute. Y'all are grown folks. Have a little etiquette. Have a little respect. Come showered. Also, understand, tip number 4, understand that not all breeders are going to let you hold their animals, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there's a lot of diseases, mites, all kinds of things, especially if you're hanging around seller tables with a lot of imports. And a lot of us don't want to bring our animals home with all these other diseases. Again, I personally let people hold my animals. I bring hand sanitizer, but that's not always safe either. That's not always going to kill what's on people's hands. So it's up to a breeder. If somebody doesn't want to let you hold their animals, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking. But once you ask, once they say no, don't cop the attitude. And certainly don't let your kids, after a breeder says no, keep picking up deli cups and slinging these animals around all over the table. That's another thing that drives me crazy. These are living creatures, and some of these parents come in here with kids and just let their kids snatch these deli cups off the table, look at them all up here, flipping the gecko and snake over. It's insane to me. It is absolutely insane to me that some of this is common sense and folks don't abide by it. All right, last tip on etiquette. Keep in mind this is some people's absolute bread and butter. It's not for me. It's a side hustle for me. If I sell, I sell. If not, I enjoy
Keep in mind
breeding,
this
and I
is
have a full-time job that pays absolute bread.
So for
and
me,
butter.
it's not a huge deal.
It's not for me.
But for
It's
a lot
a
of
side
people,
hustle
this
for
is
me.
their
If
bread
I
and
sell,
butter.
I
And
sell.
there is
If not,
nothing
I
wrong
enjoy
with
breeding,
asking
and I
for a
have a
discount.
full-time
There
job
is
that
nothing
pays
wrong
my
with
bills.
trying to haggle
So for
a
me,
little
it's
bit.
not a huge
But when
deal.
you come to people's
for a
table
lot of
and you
people,
start
this
asking
is
for
their bread
hundreds
and
of
butter.
dollars of
And there is
discounts and
nothing
half
wrong
price
with asking
you
for a
are
discount.
being
There is nothing
ridiculous.
wrong with trying to haggle a little bit.
For what
But when
most
you
of
come to
these
people's
animals
table
sell
and you start
for,
asking for hundreds
we're
of
not
dollars
making
of
back
discounts and half
even
price,
what we've invested
you
to get
are
them to the
being
age that they're
ridiculous.
sellable at.
So keep that in
for
mind.
what
There's
most of these animals sell for,
$20.
We're not
There's
making back even what we've invested to get them to the age that they're sellable. A couple animals.
So
but
keep
anything
that
over
in mind.
$50, you're
There's
just
nothing
being
wrong with
ridiculous,
and it's insulting, and it's
There's
rude.
even sometimes
So
I'll go
again,
$50 if
nothing
you're getting a
wrong
real
with
high price
wanting
animal,
to
or you're
maybe
getting
get a little price cut.
But
Most
anything over
people will
$50,
work
you're
with you
just being
as long as you're
ridiculous,
not being
and it's
disrespectful
insulting
and
rude
rude
about
rude.
it.
So
And
insinuating
nothing
that
wrong
our
with wanting to
are
maybe get a
worth
little price
half
cut.
of what we're
Most
asking
people
for
will
them.
work with you as
Just
long as you're not being
ridiculous.
disrespectful.
All right, guys, so those are my tips for you guys to appropriately utilize a reptile expo. Again, I said it over in this video. You can absolutely work in a reptile expo to your benefit in every aspect. It's just a matter of being prepared, knowing what you're looking for, being smart, following your gut, and having a little class and etiquette about you while you're there. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'm so glad you're joining me now if this is your first video. And then, of course, all of you that have been subscribed and continue to comment and like the videos and support it. You guys friggin' rock. Thank you for being here and the constant support. Lastly, before I end this video, I am February 14th, that is next week, I am going to be dropping a big breeder giveaway. Head over to my Instagram now. I'm doing. I have teamed up with 9 other breeders. We are going to be giving away a ton of free. I've already put the intro video up of what to expect, when I'm going to drop, how the rules are going to go. So you can go watch that. It's going to be so much fun. You want to make sure if you do not follow me on Instagram, now is the time to do it. Now you do have to be 18 years of age. You do have to be a U.S. resident. You will have to pay for shipping. It's going to be a lot of fun. Have to have some knowledge of the species that are available for each giveaway. So, head on over there. Definitely give me a follow on Instagram. So if you qualify under those week, wish me luck at the shows right there. Head over to my Instagram now. Southern girl underscore girl underscore exotic.